L17. Is there a material fire in L? Is there a material fire in L? When we read the summary of Theology of St. Thomas Aquinas, we learn that his writings attempt to, or strive to within its supplement, to clarify this issue. When he had already died, these writings from his youth were taken up by his secretary, his brother Réginald, who strives to justify how a material fire could burn an angel spirit and also a pure spirit such as a dead person before the resurrection. His reflections are as follows, and he gives himself room for the hypotheses, and in particular he ends up with the following. For him, at a given moment, God will condemn angels and men to not longer be able to consider with their intelligence anything but the essence of material fire, which would put them in absolute rage, since they are intelligent beings and they want to consider other issues. Obviously, from this perspective, it will be an added punishment from God. However, we understand that God does not proceed in such manner. God is not someone who willfully tortures a soul. On the other hand, we see it in a parable when a man is possessed by hundreds of demons who beg Jesus not to send them to hell but to let them go into nearby pigs. And Jesus allows them to do so. On the other hand, it can happen that God prevents a demon from harming man against whom he attacks. It depends upon the immediate will of Christ. Why don't the demons want to go to hell, to this place they have chosen? Because by no longer being able to occupy themselves with harming man, they only thought is their own rage, their own revolt, and that is something dreadful. But that is a spiritual fire, and it is not a material fire. So in order to understand how this will be materially achieved, namely that the damned will suffer from a material fire, here are several approaches. The first is that after the resurrection there is obviously somatisation. This means that all the wounds of the soul have repercussions in psychology and up to the body, which therefore appears deformed and which radiates the interior hatred upon which they dwell. That is the first effect. But there is something else. The greatest terror of the damned, their greatest suffering, is obviously to meet someone from paradise, someone who reigns over the heart of God, from which there emanates great joy because they have despised the qualities that these people of paradise have loved with humility and love. So rather than meeting them by chance in this immense and unique world, they certainly prefer to hide themselves in the most distant places, the most sinister places, perhaps the hearts of the stars, if there are any, or colder places. In any case, never to meet anyone. It is a metaphor. Imagine the damned as being these black holes in the heart of our current galaxies. This is only a metaphor, because the other world is not our world, which is going into decline, which rots, which will eventually disappear. The next world is a much larger world, and above all made of eternal matter. But such a picture illustrates this well. Never meet someone from heaven, and therefore condemn yourself to the most sinister places. Does this mean that they suffer from this physical fire? No, it is nothing compared to the fire of their soul. But beyond all this, they maintain their sins rather than repent.